Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I wanted to share with y'all a very basic, very beginner friendly resin casting tutorial. There'll be links to all the different tools and materials used down below, and this can be modified in so many different ways. Like you could do different colors, different shapes, different additives, but just as a starting point, and so you can see how mine came out, how I messed up, how I'm dealing with having messed up. But let's go ahead and get started. So here I am using Clearcast 7000. You'll want to mix equal portions of parts A and B. Part A is the resin, part B is the hardener. I pour the hardener first and then pour the resin into it. And then I'm going to stir it as thoroughly as I can for 2 to 3 minutes. I set a timer because I always like, yeah, it's been 3 minutes and it was like 30 seconds. Wiping the extra off the spatula. I'm gonna, after having stirred it, trying to not add any air bubbles, we're actually gonna let it sit for about 5 minutes to let those air bubbles that are in there anyhow rise up to the surface. And you can use a straw to just like blow through and get all the carbon dioxide in your breath will help pop all those bubbles. And then I stick my hand in front of the camera because, you know, #pro. But you can see how much clearer that is now, and there will be more bubbles continuing to come up through there. Clearcast 7000 has a pot life of about 45 minutes before you can't really pour it anymore. I'm adding in just some different colors of Pearl-Ex and a couple of drops of red India ink. Alcohol ink also works really well. And this is where I kind of wish I had split it up into like 3 sections, like 3 separate cups, and really vigorously and thoroughly mixed in the Pearl-Ex pigments because I got some clumping. But I wanted to get like kind of like a loose stir to have like a swirl effect in the resin as opposed to a solid coloring all the way through. And that's why I was still left with chunks of the Pearl-Ex. It wasn't a project ruiner, but it was not what I was going for, so it's definitely something to keep in mind. But yeah, that pot life of 45 minutes though, you'll be able to start feeling it heat up in your hand. Here I'm just using some pixelated heart candy molds that I think you can get them at like Joann's and Michael's and Hobby Lobby, like in the baking section. And then there'll be also links down below for where you can get these really cool looking crystal like molds. Like it's not just a flat mold, it's like you pour down into it. And I'm trying to be very careful. I have them all held upright in the lid of a spray paint can. And I've actually found, I don't know if this goes for all spray paint cans, but the resin doesn't stick to this one. I would never use it as a mold, but I am able, even you can see I got some spillage here and I'm like trying to level out the surface. Even with all of that spillage, I was able to remove these silicone molds from the plastic. If you're investing in molds, I do really recommend silicone because it's just easy cleanup. This mold here was actually intended for use with Mod Podge or hot glue. And I was like, resin, but in that mirror finish silicone transfers over directly to your castings. I let it sit for 24 hours undisturbed with, I actually just put like a big box over it to keep like fur and stuff from floating down onto the backs of it. The warmer your room is, the better. I mean, you don't want it like roasting in the oven, but I had these set off in a side room where it was around 60 degrees and it took 2 days to cure on a different batch, whereas these ones I had them in the main living area where it's around 70, 74 degrees and they cured perfectly, no stickiness or anything. Most of them, they just pop right out of the molds, but with these longer crystal style ones, I have a little dish here with just kitchen soap, like Dawn dish soap, in some water, and it gets in there and really helps it just pop right out of the molds. And so that's a nice little trick, because otherwise it's kind of hard to get those crystals unmolded. So yeah, I just open it up a little bit, dab the end in there, and then roll it. That way that soapy water can get in there and it distributes it around and then it just slides right out. And that's how this resin batch came out. It's actually not very labor intensive. Most of it is just doing it and then waiting. The waiting is the hard part. So I like to do these resin projects. Here you can see a lot of the different shapes that we were able to achieve. On these ones you can see some of like the dots and chunks and stuff, and then I really like those little crystal hearts, or pixelated hearts rather. But yeah, so that's kind of it. You can be as simplistic or as complicated with resin casting as you would like. I really enjoy the Pearl X pigments because well, they do have a tendency to settle, as you saw with those different chunks and things that we had. They aren't like some heavier glitters that all of it will settle. And so what I'll be doing next time I do this project is I'll be mixing up the epoxy for the 2 to 3 minutes and then letting it let the bubbles rise for 5 minutes, and then I'm actually going to split it up into 4 cups. Have one that I leave clear, have one that I put the red dye in, or the red India ink, and then in each of the other 2 do the different colors of pearl. And then I'll just like pour them all in together and give it a rough swirl and then pour it, because I really want to see how that translates. But I also wanted some of that translucency in there. So I'm hoping this resin you can get for about $35 for these size bottles that I'm using. Can't tell exactly what size bottle they are, but they're quite big. They're bigger than this bottle of paint, and this bottle of paint is 16 ounces. So but yeah, it's so for that price, sorry I brain farted really hard, for that price you can get quite a bit of stuff out of these bottles. But I've had a few pieces that came out that I'm like, I think that's ruined, like that's not what I wanted. So I'm hoping that even in these beginner phases of my working with resin, y'all will be able to learn from my mistakes and maybe save yourselves some money, some time, and some heartache, because it's like, oh, I loved that glitter that I put in there. So, but thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope that this video was helpful to you. If any questions or comments or ideas, please leave them down below in the comment area. You can also tag me on Instagram or share pictures to my Facebook wall. There'll be links for that down below as well. And then if you enjoy my free tutorials that I post daily here on YouTube, it's a big thanks to our patrons. They keep these videos coming, and if you're interested in becoming a patron and you know, helping to keep this happening, sorry, words are hard. But yeah, if you want to help support what we're doing, as well as participate in our Fairy House giveaways, our monthly craft crates, our digital downloadable content, as well as our behind the scenes pictures and early access videos, those are just some of the things that we do over on Patreon. Please consider joining us. Again, links down below, and pledges start at just $1 a month, and every little bit goes a long way. So thank you guys so much for all of your support, all of your encouragement, all of your thumbs ups and subscribings and things that y'all do, and I'll see y'all in my next video. So happy crafting, and I'll see y'all around. Bye.